All right, good evening, class. We are being recorded now. It's week 2 in the leadership communications class. And tonight, what I had planned to do is we're going to take a tour of the syllabus and the course itself, and then we're going to focus in on the signature assignments, and maybe get into some of the resources that we're going to be using, in particular the Purdue OWL website. Yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started and share my screen with you. So do you see the course webpage? Yeah, okay. So what I have this in student view. So this is exactly what you should be seeing when you log in. Earlier today, I did add assignments over here to the left because I like being able to click on that and see the assignments right there. I don't know why that was grayed out, but that's a nice feature for students to find an assignment real quickly. The reason I realized that wasn't available to you was one of the students mentioned that if you go to week 2, there was this little blurb here about scheduling your online leadership training session. Imagine this without this hyperlink here, because I did add this today as well. And she mentioned, well, yeah, I want to go ahead and do that, but I have no idea what I'm signing up for because I haven't had a chance to see what the assignment is. So I realized at that point that I had a problem, went back, added the assignment tab, and also added the hyperlink, which should take you right to the assignment description. There we go. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to go back to the syllabus. So this is your, for most people, this is their second course in leadership studies. I've been teaching this course since October of 2015. I did not teach the first iteration of the course or the first year, but I've taught it ever since. And I also teach the data-driven leadership, which is the third course in the series. So it'll be the next course after this course. And I've taught that course since the beginning of the program. The first data-driven leadership course was in January of 2015. Program started in August of 2014, and so I was the third course there. When I took over this course the second time, I did revise it a little bit. I picked a different textbook, the one that you're currently using, which is completely online, right? Business Communication for Success. If you want to print it, you can print it. You know, you're really gonna, when you do the math, you're gonna pay almost as much for probably if you went to Kinko's and tried to print the PDF as you would from finding it in this format and buying it from a publisher. The one that did this one is called Flat World Knowledge. But you don't have to buy anything. You can just read it online and not spend a dime on the textbook. Oh yeah, there's the price for the textbooks, $89 from this company website. The second book that I selected for this course is one that's primarily focused on oral communication and really making those important conversations, really taking the time to really think about those and saying what we really want to say. And we get into this, I think, in week 5, week 4, something like that, about halfway through the course. You could certainly start reading it early if you wanted to. That one is, I say there's a free version of it, and I hope this link works. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so it popped up in my on my other monitor, and it is, it does look like that link does work, which is great. I'm surprised there's a free version because this is a, I think a bestseller. Yeah, New York Times bestseller. The Purdue Owl, we're going to come back to that. That's just a website. It's not a book. Some other books, they're not required but recommended, are of this variety. This is a technical writing kind of handbook. Before I went to graduate school, I didn't really realize that you could get paid to basically as a professional writer. It's not writing novels. It's not journalism. It's actually, writing technical documents and manuals for companies, laying out illustrations, and it's really kind of an interesting field that kind of butts up against training or performance management type. Here's another one of those. So the first one I showed you was the Rebecca Burnett book, which is the one I used in my graduate school course at San Diego State. And then this one is very similar. It's another technical writing book. And then the one on the other one on the website, the Richard Johnson Sheehan, that's yet another one. So they're all fairly the same. They're kind of a nice handbook to tell you how to do certain kind of things that you're trying to do in a professional writing situation. Also very good to have if you're ever if you're in a type of job where your boss might ask you from time to time to write a manual or to come up with a way to lay out a document. This would be a good place to go to find out how to lay it out and why to do it that way. And then, of course, the last book on the list there is the Bass Leadership Handbook, which I believe you got into in the first course, right? Now, these are all recommended books. You don't have to buy any of these. I have the first chapter available in this course by PDF. And it's just a photocopied version for anybody that hasn't done that reading yet. I realize that you don't have to take these courses in sequence, I don't think. So if somebody jumped into the leadership communication course without having taken the foundation course, they could get that reading there. By the way, were you required to buy the Bass Handbook? So that was a required purchase for the first. Okay, that's good to know. I haven't talked to Joy in a while, so I wasn't sure how she was teaching that. All right, so we get down, learning outcomes, format, this kind of standard verbiage. This course is basically, as you probably know by now, 1 week in this online format and an 8-week course is about twice. It should be about twice the amount of work as a regular college course, because a regular college course is usually 16 weeks long as opposed to 8. So break that down. It should be about 17 hours a week of work. Here's a tentative class schedule. My grading policy. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, I think the thing that might be a little different is where I make the cuts on some of these. If you can see the less than sign, greater than sign. So let's take, for instance, an F would be less than 60%. A D minus would be less than 63%. So if you had 63%, you would in fact have a D. Let's hope that nobody has that, but I should have used a A and B example probably, but get the picture. Office hours for this course are going to be by appointment. I have thought about having just a time where I just, one of the other professors in the program was sharing that he does a kind of I think a call-in, a Zoom session where people can call in, and there was no, it's not a lecture, it's just a time for conversation about the readings and any questions that you might have. I've thought about doing that. I think the hardest part about that is finding a time when everybody can meet. When I sent out the survey for this time, this was the best time for everybody, and there were only 10 people that said they could make this time. So it gives you an idea. It's not even half the class that can make it any one time. So it'll be by appointment. If I change that, and I might change that at some point in the middle of the course, I'll let you all know. On that note too, in terms of like other changes that could affect your grade, like changing assignments and things like that, I don't usually do that. And I think there's a blurb in the syllabus that says, that I would only do that with, with enough time for the people in the course to adjust. And so it wouldn't be an abrupt change. All this is pretty standard verbiage, what kind of computer you need, resources, if you need help. Humboldt State, just like any other university, California State University, it's going to have a lot of student affairs offices that can help students, whether it's a learning disability, or if it's, well, if you're on campus, you can get a lot of things, counseling, health services, a lot of different assistance. But online, you can at least get, there's a lot of laws to protect students, and there are offices set up to with people that get paid to help students in different areas. So if you're feeling a need for any kind of help, I would advise you to search the website, search the internet to find out if there are offices for those type of services that you need, and then take advantage of those services that you're all paying for as students and taxpayers. And then a summary of the course here, which will have the assignments, discussions, whatnot. So that's the syllabus in a nutshell. Any questions about that before we move on to assignments? No. So I'm going to use that new tab that I that I made available to you. Let's see if that works. Okay, there we go. So we're in week 2, so we got our readings, discussion. A lot of the time, the assignment's going to be a discussion post and then a reply to other people's posts. I think you'll find that a lot of the leadership studies courses use a similar format. Quizzes is another type of assignment that you'll see on a regular basis. The course is really divided into 2 forms of communication. The first part of the course, I kind of focus on oral communication, written communication. And then the second half of the course, we focus on the oral communications. That's when we get into the Crucial Conversations book. So you start writing right away. Be writing memos, letters. There's an assignment that I had or I have on here about using your own paper from the Bass reading. So the time before this time, the first course in the Leadership Studies program had the students write a paper about chapter 1 of the Bass readings, like a reflection piece. Did you guys write a paper on that? She wasn't real clear. I had asked her about that, and she said she had you reflect on it, but it sounded like it maybe what isn't a paper any longer. Is that the case? Can anybody?
We had 2 books and 2 sets of reading that week. And I focused my writing on the other book mostly that week.
Was that the Harvard book or the Harvard or
Human Relations?
Human Relations, yep.
Okay. So it sounds like, and was there a paper involved with that, or?
It was just like a discussion, I think.
Yeah.
Mine was a paper, but not a full, APA style paper, but it was a full page I did it on chapter 1 in the Bass book.
Okay. Yeah. So I think she changed that on me. So I might have to revisit that assignment. And I know I was thinking about it as I was putting this course together. I may have made some changes to it that already kind of reflect what she told me, but let's not focus on this. Let's get right to the big assignments. If we go, the first major assignment, you're going to have 2 what we call signature assignments, right? You remember those from 311, Leadership Studies 311. So the first one in this class is going to be a paper, and it's called a white paper. So I have a point here where an assignment where you're going to be doing an outline for that paper, but then here's the actual paper assignment. So it's a white paper. A white paper is a research paper. It's an informative paper, and it's used in government to inform leaders on certain areas that they need to make decisions on. So an example of a white paper would be if when I was in the Coast Guard, I was in the Coast Guard for 20 years, and the Coast Guard was buying some new cutters or ships, and they were interested in potentially reducing the manning criteria on the ship from what previous ships have had. So they knew the Navy was using a similar ship, so they wanted to find out, what exactly the Navy was doing with their littoral combat ships. So I went to San Diego and I researched it. I became kind of the expert on what the Navy was doing in terms of manning and also the training of how were they keeping their crews well trained so that they could do the jobs that they needed to do on board. Typically in the Coast Guard, it was training when you got to the ship. You did your training as you were on the ship, but the Navy had done it a little bit differently so that people showed up, they were already ready to go, so you didn't need as many people. So I wrote this white paper. I took it back to the Coast Guard and then gave it to my boss, who shared it with other people. And nowhere in there did I make any type of, I didn't feel like I had an agenda other than laying out factual information. And I say this because I think a lot of people get, they misconstrue the purpose of the white paper. They go from that informative standpoint to a persuasive standpoint, if that makes sense. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to stay in that as objective as you can be, and kind of lay out just the facts, ma'am. That kind of writing and that kind of information, and keep it light in terms of the persuasion piece. Doesn't mean you can't have a recommendation in one of these papers. Oftentimes you do want to have some sort of recommendation, but it would be a little bit less in quantity than you would see in a persuasive type of written piece. And it doesn't have to be as definitive either. You can really lay it out, and even if you didn't have a strong opinion, if you just laying out the information, the facts, a lot of times that's a person's going to pick it up, and they're going to understand the good, the bad, and they're going to be able to make a decision and have a greater sense of what's going on just from reading your paper. And that's the goal, is that you may spend 15 hours researching something, and somebody can pick up your paper and get to the same point just about in 15 minutes from reading it. So that's the white paper. That's here. Week 5 is when it's due. This is the rubric here is a little bit generic. It's the Humboldt State writing rubric, so you'll see it in other courses. I think I have another rubric that kind of addresses more the white paper format, but I think that's on here, but let me see where this one takes us. This might just take us to the to where this one resides. I don't know if that one opened up. I'm not going to open that one up, but if you follow this, you'll be in good stead. That's worth 20 points. I don't have a lot of points in my course. Usually assignments are worth 5, 10 points. So 20 points is a lot. And then the second signature assignment is not due until the end of the course, week 8, I believe. And that's the online leadership training. And what you're going to be doing is facilitating. So let's click on this for a second. You're going to use Zoom, and you're going to have a group of your classmates, hopefully, at least 2. And you're going to basically facilitate an online training session on a topic that is related to leadership that would be of value to your classmates. And you're going to try to involve them in the Zoom session. You're going to try to, not like here where I'm just talking to you. You're going to try to have some dialogue. You're going to try to maybe have an activity where you get people involved. You might call on people. So, Becky, what do you think of this point? And then wait the long pause, and let that person respond. Now that's, and it's 15 to 30 minutes, and that's worth another 20 points. So those two together are the signature assignments for this course. And you can kind of see it's broken down by administrative duties, facilitator skills, and content. If you stick with the leadership studies type of content, if you truly try to engage and have people participate, that takes care of the facilitator skills one. And then the administrative duties, did you get so you'll have a sign-up sheet where you have to sign up for your session, and I'll show you that in a second, and then emailing invitations out before your session, and then posting your video at the end. So that's kind of the administrative part. So 5, and then 10 for content. So you really want to make sure you get a good topic and provide something useful to your classmates. So those are the two signature assignments. Let's take a look at the sign-up sheet. So you'll notice this is how I usually get to a place in the course, is I just go to the modules, and you can get to week 1, week 2, week 3, whatever you need to do. But every week after week 1, so if I click on this first page in any of these weeks, you're going to find the main page for that week, and you're going to find this item number 4, schedule your online leadership training session, with a link now. And click on that link. It should open up. Let's see if it opened up here. I'm not sure why it's not opening up for me in this mode. Let me try if I leave the student view.
Could I ask a quick question
Sure.
while you're doing that? Do you have any previous leadership training videos that we would be able to watch, or?
No, you have to do this blindfolded and with your hands tied behind your back.
Okay.
Just,
That would.
no, this is a question I always get. No,
Okay.
you do have a couple videos as
Okay.
examples. And
Gotcha.
they're on,
Okay.
I think they're on week 8. I'm going to go to week 8 real quick. Let's see. Okay, so here's one example.
Okay.
And then there's another one down here. This one you can't see as much because for some reason it doesn't show up like this one, but this one would take you to another. I think this one is in Portfolium, so it just comes up differently. One of them is in Portfolium, and the other one is maybe in Google or YouTube.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
no problem. Good question. So what was I going to say? So the online leadership, let me see if I can. I'm not going to go to that one. One looks a little bit different than week 7. So I'm trying to get you to sign up for this early. That's why I'm offering extra credit if you read the little blurb. For some reason, it doesn't want to do it. But it will take you to a,
I think you're clicking the wrong link. You're clicking the link for the assignment, not the sign up Google Doc.
yeah, that one did go to the assignment. Thank you. Oh, this is weird. Switch accounts. I also work at Santa Rosa City Schools, so I have.
If you switch accounts and then on the next screen, sign in to another account there,
Continue.
it's going to keep taking you back there. So there's an option to sign in to another account next to
You
continue.
gotta hit that. Okay. Got it. Thank you. I only have like 6 different accounts, I think, but let's see. Let's try this one. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. This is good. Now, do you see the spreadsheet? Okay, good. Oh, somebody's already, looks like somebody's in there right now, typing in there. So what you'll do is you'll type in your name, first name, last name, the time you want to do your session. Remember, I said 15 to 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes is more realistic. 15 is a little short. The title of your session, your training session, a description, and then you're going to need to create a Zoom meeting, and then you're going to need to copy the meeting ID here. So if we went back to my meeting for this particular session that we're in right now, when you're in Zoom, you go and you basically have to copy an invitation. It's a little clunky, but you copy an invitation, then you paste it into your email, or in this case, into the announcement tab. So I posted it right here. It starts here, and then it goes all the way down. So if you'll notice that the meeting ID is right here. It's kind of buried in this, in the text of this email. So if you just copy that and then go back and paste it here, anybody that's logged into Humboldt State student account can join your meeting if they have that meeting ID. So that's that. I will point out here, this is where you would sign up to attend, or I should change this because I don't want you to just attend. I want you to participate. So the difference is, if I told you to attend, you could sit there and just sit back, maybe have something playing on the TV, have your microphone on mute, and tune out. But I don't want that. I want you to actually participate. I want you to, if I'm asking the people that are doing the training sessions to be engaging and to have activities and to try to make it more of an interactive type of session, which I think is what facilitating is all about, then they need participants that are willing to participate, right? So it's a two-way street. So, but this is where you would sign up to participate. And if we go back to, let's just go back to week 2. If we go back to this blurb here, you're required to participate in 4 of your classmates' meetings, right? And that's worth 10 points. That's a different grade. So you got the 20 points for facilitating an online leadership session, and then 10 points for attending your classmates' sessions. But you can also get extra credit. So if you go anything above four meetings, you get 2 points of extra credit for each one above 4. So if you go to all your classmates' meetings, you could potentially rack up a bunch of extra credit points, right? So that guarantee that A, you know, so if you're a little shaky in some of the other assignments. So that's good to
So
know.
I could technically not even do the assignment and just go
Technically,
to everyone else's.
well, let's see. So how many students do we have in this class? Let's see.
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not going to do that, but it was kind of going through my brain.
Well, it looks like, let's see, 1, 2, make sure they're students. 3, 4, 5.
16.
I counted 15, 16. So you're required to go to 4, and then you're one person, so that's 5. So you're looking at like 10, maybe 11, just say 10 other sessions that you could possibly go to. So that's worth 20 points. You still have to do one of the signature assignments, but it's
Sure.
not, right? It's nice to have that kind of, you know, I wouldn't recommend not doing the assignment, but say you do the assignment and it's a little shaky, and you get, this is hedging your bet, you know, so that you get that A that you want.
Right.
I talked about the signature assignments. We talked about the extra credit. How many people have used OWL before, the Purdue OWL online writing lab? Yeah, seen some both. It's a great resource for writing. In the leadership studies program, did Joy tell you that we adopted the APA format for citations? Did she tell you that? So, you know, you have the different style books, APA's 1, MLA, Chicago style, depending on your discipline, it could be different things. So we, as a program, adopted APA, and they're going to, other professors are going to ask you to use APA. One of them is very particular, and you really have to know this stuff. So why not learn it now, right? So I want you to use the APA style. I'm not going to make you buy this book because you don't need to anymore. Nowadays, you can go to the Purdue OWL, and they have all the style. They don't have the entire volume of the book, but they have enough to where you can write a paper and figure out your citations. This is the Purdue OWL, Purdue University, the writing lab. So here under Purdue OWL, you have general writing, research and citations, and you see right there APA style. Right, so you can go there and formatting and style guide, but they have some other stuff too, right? Overview and workshop. We'll just go right to the style guide, which is what this is, style guide. And it'll tell you like the different rules for citations. And this stuff just goes on and on, right? There's a PowerPoint.
I had a question to go back to Crystal's point. So we do our online training session, which at least 2 people need to attend, and then we need to attend at least 4 others. But then it sounded like there was another component of that and I didn't quite catch.
Okay, so you have to do one session, and then you have to you have to participate in 4 other sessions of your classmates. And then there's a potential to earn 2 points of extra credit for each training session that you participate in above and beyond those 4.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. anyhow, so the Purdue OWL APA formats, if you want to know how to do a reference list for books, there it is. So in your white paper, you would need to have your references in there. It doesn't have to look like a academic paper. It can look like a report, like a business report. You guys are all from different areas of different work areas. You know, if you just look at some of the reports that you see around your workplace, it can look like that, but you need to have the references there in the back or at the end. So in other words, I'm not going to be a real stickler for, you know, the APA format in terms of, oh, you have to have a cover sheet, you have to have your running headers, you have to have your, you know, your bibliography, your reference page has to be separate. For this course, what I want you to focus on is getting the references to look like these, and then also to cite your sources in your text the APA way. And let's see if it says here. So in-text citations. So the way the APA does it is they usually use the author's name and then the year in parentheses. If it's a quote like this, that is because it's a long quote, that's why they indent the entire quote, and then they put the page number at the end. Here's how a paraphrase looks. This is, in most cases, I think in college you should be paraphrasing and not using direct quotes. It's a more refined way to cite somebody rather than seeing quotes are a little bit, they break up the text a little bit and the flow of the paper. It's not to say you can't use them. It's just this, from a style perspective, I think paraphrasing is better. So it would look like this: according to Jones, and then you have your parentheses and the date of the text, and then they say something about it. APA style is difficult. Is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. APA style is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. And then you have your citation, parentheses, Jones, comma, the date, comma, page number, and then the page. And this is probably this is for a book because it's the APA style guide. It might be different here in this area and the inside of this for a journal or for a magazine or something like that. And you would have to just. Sorry?
Is that two different ways it could be written out, or is it one way where it's got it at the beginning of the sentence and then again at the end and the information is repeated?
Same question, Marie.
Yeah, it's one way. I have never personally done this date right here, this according to Jones and then the date. If I do it at the end, to me it's a little redundant. So
would you say that's two separate ways to do it, either both in the beginning or both in the end, but probably not both?
If you read the description,
Yeah, read above it.
It says that they recommend to do the second one.
Yeah, that's what I would say, the second one. So this is the correct way for paraphrase. Oh, and up here they're saying that? Is that what you're saying? I'm looking for that. If you're
No, it says right there where you are, it says, but APA guidelines encourage you to also provide the page number, although it's not required.
Yeah.
They kind of encourage the second option. but
Yeah.
the-
What I would do is do the second option here with the page number
Right.
and not worry about this right here. But you're still going to say according to Jones because that's part of your writing, right? I suppose you could say, actually, you could say very well, just get rid of according to Jones, and you could say the APA style is difficult citation format for first-time learners, blah, 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 blah. Jones. So you don't even need that according to Jones.
To me, it looks like it's two different examples. Is that not true?
It's true. It is true. I think what we're saying, though, is that this is the preferred way with the page number.
Okay, at the end.
Yeah. But if you wanted to, if you
Okay.
wanted to say, according to Jones, if you're going to drop that last part, this would work as long as there's only one Jones reference in your reference
Yeah.
or there was only one Jones reference with a publication date of 1998. So in other words, if you drop the date and the back part, let me think about this. If you just drop this back part and you just said that, according to Jones, 1998, that would work, probably 99% of the time. It's only when you have multiple Jones articles written in 1998 is when you're going to come up with a problem, right? Because what the reader would do is if they wanted more information on that, they would look at your references, they would see, oh, Jones, 1998, and they would see the book, right? And see whatever it is. I like the page number on the back end just because if they really want to find that, if it's a huge book, instead of going through the entire book, they know exactly which page number in the book to go to, right? So that I do prefer that just as this person does. But it's not required. So that's the Purdue OWL. And by the way, it's great for these different formats too. Like if you had to write a paper, a lot of history people out there. If you're a history major, you have to write Chicago style usually. English uses MLA. And then
Did you say that there was a slideshow before you go off there that we can watch for?
There is one.
Okay.
Like you just click on APA style, and then I kind of drilled down in here a little bit, but format style guide. And then you can see down here, APA slide presentation.
Okay, and that's like an overall introduction to APA.
Yeah, and then sample paper,
Okay.
if you do have to write the full-on APA with the cover letter or cover page and the whole bit.
Gotcha.
This is going to be all, there's your cover page. These wouldn't be in your cover page. These are just telling you about it.
Right. Okay. Is the APA style reflected much in our grade if we make errors on that? I don't know. It's pretty new to me.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to do any of it last term. Last term.
Yeah, I would just defer to the rubric on that. I think.
Okay.
If it's in the rubric that says that you have to do it, that
Yeah.
then I would defer to that. If it's not spelled out in the HSU rubric, then you probably don't have to worry about it too much in this course. Now, like I said,
Gotcha.
there's at least one professor out there for leadership studies that's really wants you to write APA style papers, the whole academic formatting. I've always kind of taken more of a practitioner approach rather than a academic approach to the writing. I want it to be good for wherever you are in your career, right? I mean, when I was in the Coast Guard, if I wrote an APA paper, it's probably not going to be read, really. I had to write more succinctly and in a different format, right? So if you have to write in those kind of formats for your workplace, then, but I think the key is citing your sources, and so you don't get, so people know that you went out, you collected the research, and now you're relaying it to them, and not trying to claim that it's your own thought necessarily. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Al. I think that was pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I'm going to open it up for more questions now. So, and while I'm waiting, I'll go back to the rubric to see what it says about APA.
I have a question. Is there a list of ideas for topics for the presentation, or is it just pretty much anything that we can relate back to leadership?
There is not a list. That's one of the reasons I wanted to include the Bass chapter 1 reading, is because that chapter 1 and the Bass handbook really does a good job of describing what is leadership, and leadership is huge. It's been defined a lot of different ways. It's been looked at a lot of different ways, and so there's a lot of different facets that you can look at or use when you're writing this white paper. It doesn't have to be from the Bass chapter 1, but if you were struggling for ideas, I'd say go back and read that.
Okay, so in my job at school, communication is crucial, and I feel like it's something I could really dive into, all different types of communication, but it's not really a type of leadership, it's a piece of leadership. So is something like a piece of leadership what you're looking for, or not really?
No, I think that would be within the realm of leadership. I mean, if we thought, one of the 10 courses in a leadership studies program should be communication, then obviously communication is super important when it comes to leaders and leadership, right? So that
right.
If you wanted to do your paper on an aspect of leadership in the workplace or whatever it is, I would say that's a great topic. I'd say the one area that you would want to make sure that you include is some academic or I'm thinking the word empirical, but some sort of the best evidence you could get for whatever you're saying. So in other words, if I tell you that
back it with research.
Yeah. If I'm gonna assert something in a paper, I want to make sure I have backup, right? That I'm backing this up with other people that have said this, and if you can find 3 reputable sources that are saying the same thing about leadership communication, chances are now you're triangulated on that topic, and you've done your due diligence to research it and say, look, I didn't find just one person who said this, but these are multiple sources saying the similar thing or the same thing, and that's why that's why I'm gonna go out on the limb and say this is the right way to do it, or whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a little bit long-winded explanation to your simple question, but any other questions about?
I have 3 questions. This is Becky, but they're just super fast, I promise.
Sure.
So about the topics, do you have time? Like if we were to shoot you a quick email and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking for whatever this assignment is, do you have time for that? Or would you rather just have us dive into it?
I think, in fact, it's built into the course. Let me see.
I did see the outline on one of them. But like the,
I think that's what the outline assignment is really for.
okay.
I thought the outline was for the white paper. Or you wanted the white paper to be on the same topic?
Yeah, that's a great question. Both the white paper and the facilitating online leadership training session are on leadership topics.
But it doesn't have to be the same topic.
It doesn't have to be the same, but it can be. So it's up to you.
Okay.
I would recommend that you consider it, because you're going to do all this research for the white paper on a topic. And if you can parlay that into a training session, you're gonna be so prepared for that training session, right? Because you've already researched the topic and written a paper on it, right? But it doesn't have to be. It can be. They can be on different subjects.
Okay, so that answered my second question. The last one is just kind of the turnaround time. I just was wondering, so we have another response due this week. Will we see what our grade is for the first response paper before we do this next one?
So remind me, so you're waiting for a response on a paper?
We did the first 3 chapters, and then this week we do 4 through 6.
So are you talking about the discussion post?
Yeah, any of that stuff. I think for our last class, we just didn't see any, I didn't see any grades until the very end. And so we didn't have any feedback through the whole course. So if we just kind of messed up the entire time, we had no idea. That's how I felt. I don't know if anyone else did.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that too. And I have to be honest and say that I've been guilty of that too. My goal is to try to grade to be no longer than a week. So like if you, this is the second week, so that I'm doing grading for the first week this week. And so by the time you're turning in, it might not give you a lot of time, but hopefully, I have the assignments due on Friday, right? Is that right? Friday night? Will you do the Wednesday post and then the response is due Friday, or is it due
Sunday?
We do the response to the peers by Sunday?
By Sunday?
Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
But our first post is Wednesday.
Okay, so that's the same. So I would try to get back. So I'm grading week 1 now, so I would try to get those back to you. Probably not before Wednesday, but definitely before Sunday, the second Sunday. So it would be 1 week behind.
Thank you.
That's my goal. So, all right, good questions. Good. Let's see.
I have a question if there's a moment. There was a bit of confusion about the paper from the previous course, and it caused me to dig into it a little bit more. And is it possible to submit again, or to have on your grade if it's submitted?
Oh, keep going, Steve. I didn't get the end of that.
Sorry, I think my internet connection's a bit unstable. So regarding the BAS Chapter 1 paper that from the previous course that we were to turn in, is it possible to turn that again this week? Because I was pretty confused about, we had a combination of things that the paper was on. So what kind of impact would that have on the grade of that submission if I were to submit it again?
I kind of had the same question.
Yeah,
I turned something in, but whenever we did it originally, it was a combination of 2 things. I ended up just trying to rewrite a paper real quick. Not real quick, but real quick, actually.
In the first course?
No, for the assignment for you.
Oh, for me.
Because it was because Joy just had us write on all of our reading, and I also wrote about the other book.
Oh, okay.
Because the other book was just, I feel like, way more relatable and interesting.
Yeah.
And so I had only written like a paragraph, but then anyway, so yeah, I'm glad that you asked that.
All right, let's let me pause that 1 second. You're still seeing my screen, right? So I just want to show you what it says about sources, and it doesn't say APA here, but it does talk about sources and evidence in the rubric. So in terms of the actual, oh, you put the parentheses in the wrong place or the period, I don't think that would really knock you down here on the sources, right? You might get a little ding on maybe mechanics.
I think my question is more around I don't see anything in the rubric indicating what number of points would be taken off for a late submission. So if I were.
Oh no, I'm going to get back to you, Steve. This was I was kind of going back to
Sorry.
the APA question from earlier, but okay, so that's what is in there for the writing on the white paper. So let's go back to real quick I'm going to go back to assignments, but I want to look at this BAS assignment because it's something that I had to adjust because Joy had changed her assignment. So now I made it okay. So now the BAS assignment is a week 4 assignment. Is that right? So you guys shouldn't.
No, it's the week
yeah,
one
because
assignment.
originally you had it due this week, or
Oh, I
I guess
did?
last week during the first week. So you did change it to week 4.
Did I change?
Well, there's a week 1 share your writing, week 1 assignment.
Yeah. And the reason I might have to, okay. I know what I did here. Okay.
Yeah, I was a little confused by that as well because I submitted it most based on this week. And then I came back and looked later and it was like, I wasn't sure if it had changed or if I just read it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Okay, so it's this one that we're talking about. Share your writing. Okay. So initially what I did is I had this as an assignment where you shared a paper that you did in 311. And then a couple weeks before I launched this course, I talked to Joy and it was a quick text. And I said, are you still having them do the paper on the BAS book? And she said, I'm having them do reflections on BAS or another book. So then I was like, So I did tweak it a bit. So let's see what I wrote. If you did not do the assignment, please read chapter 1 in BAS. Okay. And so what you're saying is a lot of people didn't, or some people didn't read or didn't write on the BAS book. Is that right?
I think we all just wrote again for this assignment. That's what I did, and that's what I heard someone else say that they had done, is we wrote new papers for this.
Okay.
Yes, and that's what I did. And also just maybe to clarify, I think that Steve was asking if he could resubmit his paper, and if he resubmitted it, would he be penalized for it being late?
Yeah. Well, I think because of the confusion here.
And then is there a spot later in week 4 that you're then asking for this same writing?
No, there isn't. So what that is whatever you write here is something that your peers are going to give you feedback on. So, and that happens in week 4 when we talk about feedback and editing and things like that. So if we look at that assignment, And I think what I did is I didn't change the heading of this one, but I did on this one. So now they don't kind of correspond very well. So chapter 7 of the textbook talks about editing and feedback, giving feedback, editing papers. So what I would say is on Steve's question, well, let me say this. Normally, my late policy is that you get 3 one-day late passes. So that's 3 times you can submit something one day late, no questions asked. I'll just give you full credit as if you submitted on time. And then after that, I usually deduct 5% of the total assignment value per day that it's late. So it's a pretty generous policy. You can be late and not lose, a tremendous amount of points. But for this particular one, because there was some confusion on this, I'll go ahead and waive that for students. And as long as you get this in this week, I'm just looking at the, this is the wrong one. This was due Wednesday, is that right? Last Wednesday. So as long as you get this get this in by this Wednesday, I won't deduct any points. I'll act like it was due this Wednesday. How's that? And then just,
I think it was due Friday.
Oh, was it? Let's see. Yeah,
29th.
You're right.
Yep.
Okay, let's give it till Friday then.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. But this brings up another point I think that I have to think about here. If you did not want to write on the Bass leadership book and you wanted to pull in something from another reading in 311, in other words, if you already had a paper that you felt pretty good about from 311, really what I want is a good piece of writing here. So if I make this more generic in terms of not so much on Bass, would that be helpful to people if they wanted to resubmit or submit something different, knowing that that this was going to be looked at with a critical eye in terms of giving feedback and stuff? You don't want to necessarily provide something that you wouldn't have submitted as an assignment, right? I think the reason I had this in there, and it was originally the intent was it was a paper that you had already submitted to the Leadership Studies program as kind of a finished piece, and I think I've lost that in this go around. But would that be helpful if I opened it up to different papers? I mean, did you have any longer papers in 311, or was it just discussion posts? Yeah.
I think it was mostly discussions.
Yeah.
It'd be helpful for me because I related more with the human relations book. It was just more interesting to read. We did, I think, the majority of reading out of that book.
Yeah.
All
right,
but also going back and now making it the APA style and adding in those references. Yeah, which shouldn't be too hard, but it's just going back and finding all that.
Yeah, of course, yeah. All right, so I'm going to change this. Now, this is in the past, so it might not. Looks like 14 people submitted. So hopefully people view this recording if they didn't attend. And I'll go ahead and send out an announcement about this, but I'm going to change this so that, one, it's due this Friday. And two, it doesn't have to be on chapter 1 of BAS. It can be another about another book, another reflection.
And you want it no more than 3 pages double spaced. I just want to make sure I'm reading that right.
Yeah. So
okay. So it's not like a full length paper. It's more of like a.
No, and this is new too. This wasn't with that maximum size was not there before, but that's because when Joy told me it was a reflection, that just reflection, and she didn't use the word paper like she had in the past, then I realized there probably wouldn't be as much material, right?
Right.
Cool. So I didn't want to make it a huge lift for you.
Okay.
But I wanted to see what your writing looked like from the previous course. So yeah, not too long. And double spaced is, that's kind of the APA style. And it just makes it easier to edit sometimes. You wouldn't want to do that for the white paper. Probably. I mean, you might, but you wouldn't have to. All right, so that's that. Any other questions about that assignment? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Any other questions about anything that we talked about? No? I feel like we've been going a long time. It's over an hour, so I'm going to let you guys all go. If there's no further questions, I'm going to stop recording this and try to get it posted tonight. At the very least, it'll be posted by tomorrow. And I'll do that in the announcement tab of our course in Canvas. So if there's no further questions, I'll say good night and we'll see you later. And thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.